If you're over 65 and you've looked at your bank statement lately and felt like the numbers just don't add up the way they used to, I want you to sit with this for a second, because there is a very good chance you are quietly overpaying by more than $2,000 a year on things you don't actually have to pay full price for anymore. And most people never find out until someone happens to mention it to them at the pharmacy counter or in a waiting room, almost by accident. Today, I'm going through 8 real costs that seniors are allowed to reduce or eliminate, and I'm going to give you the actual program names, not vague hints, not secret bonuses, so you can go check every single one yourself on the real government websites. And because I don't like making you wait for the good stuff, here's the first one right now. If you're paying full price every month for your prescriptions, there's a federal program called Extra Help that can knock that cost down dramatically, depending on your income. And a lot of people qualify without ever realizing it, sometimes for years. That's cost number 1, already delivered, inside the first minute of this video. We've got 7 more waiting for you, and I'm saving the biggest one for the very end, because it's tied directly to Medicare itself, and depending on your situation, it could genuinely be worth more than every other item on this list added together. Stick with me, and let's get into it. I'm Walter Sinclair, and every single week, I go through updates from Social Security, Medicare, and the VA so that you don't have to dig through all that dense paperwork yourself. I want to be straight with you before we go any further. I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't work for the Social Security Administration or Medicare. I'm just someone who reads this stuff closely and translates it into plain English. Everything I'm sharing today comes straight from SSA.gov, Medicare.gov, and VA.gov. And I genuinely encourage you to go check it yourself once you know what to search for, because you should never take my word alone as the final answer on anything involving your money. All right, with that said, let's keep moving. Cost number 2 is your Medicare Part D drug plan premium and copays. And this ties right back to that Extra Help program I mentioned in the hook a minute ago. Extra Help, which is sometimes called the low-income subsidy, is run through the Social Security Administration, and it can lower your monthly drug plan premium, lower your annual deductible, and cap what you pay per prescription, sometimes down to just a few dollars a month for the whole list of medications you're on. You apply through Social Security, either online at SSA.gov or by calling their main line directly, and the income and resource limits are higher than most people assume going in. So even if you've looked at this before and figured you made too much money to qualify, it's worth 5 minutes to double check rather than just assuming you're out for good, because the limits do get adjusted. Cost number 3 is something a lot of seniors don't even think of as a real cost until they sit down and add it up over a full year. National Park and Federal Recreation Site entrance fees. If you're 62 or older, there's something called the America the Beautiful Senior Pass, and for one low, one-time fee, you get lifetime access to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites, including national parks, national forests, and wildlife refuges all across the country. If you and your spouse enjoy traveling, or if you've got grandkids you like to take camping or hiking, this pass pays for itself in 1 or 2 trips, and then it's free for the rest of your life after that. No renewals, no annual fee, nothing else to remember. Cost number 4 is your vehicle registration and driver's license renewal fees at the DMV. Now, this one varies a lot depending on which state you happen to live in, and I want to be upfront about that, instead of pretending it works the exact same way everywhere in the country. But a solid number of states offer reduced registration fees, reduced license renewal fees, or longer renewal cycles for drivers over 65. And in some states, that discount actually starts as early as 62 or even 60. The only way to know for certain is to call your local DMV office or check their website directly and ask specifically about senior renewal discounts. Because in my experience, this is one of those things that almost never gets advertised out loud in a brochure. You basically have to ask for it by name. And don't stop at just the DMV either, because some counties and cities layer on their own additional senior discounts for things like parking permits or toll transponders. So once you've got the DMV question answered, it's worth asking your local city clerk's office the same question, in case there's a second layer of savings sitting right behind the first one. So that's 3 real costs down already. Your prescriptions through Extra Help, your national park access through the Senior Pass, and your DMV fees through your state's senior discount, assuming your particular state offers one. Before we keep going, I want to slow down and tell you about somebody who actually lived through one of these, because the numbers only mean so much until you see what they actually change for a real person. I want to tell you about a woman named Carol, 71 years old, living just outside of Dayton, Ohio, getting by on a fixed income from Social Security along with a small pension from her years working for the local school district. Carol was on 3 different medications, one for blood pressure, one for cholesterol, and one for a thyroid condition. And every single month, she was paying full retail price at the pharmacy counter because nobody had ever once told her there was anything else to check into. She told me later that some months, she'd genuinely sit in her car in the pharmacy parking lot and debate whether to fill all 3 prescriptions at once or space them out across a couple of weeks, because the combined total was eating hard into money she needed for groceries and her winter heating bill. It was actually her pharmacist, not a financial advisor, not anyone official at all, who mentioned offhand one afternoon that she might qualify for extra help given her income level, and Carol told me she had genuinely never even heard the term before that day, not once in years of picking up the same prescriptions. She went home that evening, looked it up on SSA.gov, and applied that same week, a little skeptical the whole time that it would actually change anything for someone in her situation. A few weeks later, her drug plan sent her a new statement in the mail, and her combined monthly out-of-pocket cost for all 3 medications had dropped by more than 70%, practically overnight from her perspective. She told me the first thing she felt wasn't even relief about the money itself. It was relief that she could finally stop doing that math in her head every single time she picked up a prescription bag at the counter. That's really the whole point of this video. It's not just about the dollars on paper. It's about not having to run that quiet, exhausting math every month when you don't have to. Carol told me one more thing that stuck with me, which is that she'd actually mentioned her medication costs to her own daughter more than once over the years, and even her daughter had never heard of Extra Help either, which tells you this isn't just an information gap among seniors themselves. It's a gap that reaches into whole families who are trying to help and simply don't have the right names to search for. Let's keep going, because there are more costs just like Carol's sitting out there right now for a lot of you watching. Cost number 5 is property taxes, and this is a big one, because for most seniors, it's one of the largest recurring bills of the entire year, often larger than any single medical expense. Most states offer some kind of senior property tax exemption, senior valuation freeze, or senior tax credit. But here's the catch that trips people up. Almost none of these are automatic. Nobody applies it for you behind the scenes. You typically have to apply directly through your county tax assessor's office, and the age requirement, the income limits, and the savings amount all vary depending on exactly where you live. So I honestly can't give you one single number that applies everywhere in the country. What I can tell you, though, is that if you've never once called your county assessor's office and asked directly, "Do you have a senior exemption, and how do I apply for it?" there's a real chance you're leaving money on the table every single year without ever knowing it, year after year, quietly. Some counties also let you combine a senior exemption with a separate exemption for disability or for veterans. So if more than one applies to your situation, it's worth asking whether they stack, because assessors won't always volunteer that on their own. You usually have to ask the follow-up question yourself. Cost number 6 is your home phone and internet bill. There's a federal program called Lifeline that provides a discount on monthly phone or internet service for people who qualify based on income, or who already participate in certain programs like SSI or Medicaid. It's not going to make your bill completely free in most cases. I want to be honest about that. But it can meaningfully lower it every single month. And that adds up over the course of a year the exact same way any of these other savings do, especially if you're on a tight fixed budget. Cost number 7 is federal income tax. And this is one where a common myth trips a lot of people up in both directions. A lot of seniors assume that once they're on Social Security, none of it is ever taxed at all. And that's not quite right. And other seniors assume the exact opposite, that all of it gets taxed, just like a regular paycheck would, and that's not right either. The truth sits somewhere in between. Whether any of your Social Security is taxable depends on your total combined income from all sources. And separately, once you turn 65, you actually qualify for a higher standard deduction on your federal tax return than younger filers get, which can lower your taxable income even if absolutely nothing else about your financial situation changes at all. This is exactly the kind of myth that ends up costing people money in both directions, either overpaying out of fear because they assume the worst possible outcome, or underpreparing because they wrongly assume Social Security is completely untouchable no matter what. That's 6 real costs covered so far, and I promise you, we haven't even reached the biggest one yet. Before we get there, real quick, if videos like this one are genuinely useful to you, hitting subscribe helps me keep making them for seniors like you, because it tells me there's an actual audience out there that wants this kind of calm, straight-talk content instead of the scare tactic stuff that floods this space. That's the entire ask, nothing more. Let's get back into it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now, because I hear it in the comments every single week without fail. If this were all real, why doesn't everybody already know about it? And honestly, it's a completely fair question to ask. I don't blame anyone for wondering. The honest answer isn't some hidden conspiracy or some big institution trying to keep you in the dark. It's really just bureaucracy and bad outreach, plain and simple. These programs are run by different agencies, at different levels of government, federal and state and county, all mixed together. And none of them are particularly good at advertising themselves to the exact people who actually qualify for them. Nobody is profiting off you not knowing this information. There's usually just nobody whose specific job it is to knock on your door and walk you through it in person. That's really the gap I'm trying to fill here every week. Plain and simple, one video at a time. And if you've ever called a government office and gotten transferred 3 or 4 times before anyone could answer your question, you already know exactly the kind of friction I'm talking about. It's not malice. It's just a system that was never designed with a friendly front door. Because I know 8 separate programs, 8 sets of rules, and 8 different agencies is a lot to hold in your head all at once, especially after just hearing all of it in one sitting. I put together a simple 1-page checklist that lists all 8 of these costs, the exact program name attached to each one, and the actual government website to check for each item. It's completely free. There's no catch hiding anywhere in it. It's just meant to save you from having to pause this video every 30 seconds and scribble down names on a napkin. Grab it, keep it by your phone or your computer, and go through it whenever you've got 10 or 15 free minutes to check on 1 or 2 of these at a time, at your own pace. Some of you might knock out all 8 in a single weekend, and others might spread it across a month. And either way is completely fine. This isn't a race against anybody. All right, here it is, the one I told you about at the very start of this video, the biggest item on this entire list, and it's called the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program, or QMB for short. Here's exactly what QMB does. If you qualify based on your income and your resources, it can cover your Medicare Part B premium entirely, every single month. And on top of that, it can also cover your Medicare deductibles, your coinsurance, and your copays as well. Just the Part B premium alone runs over $2,000 a year for most people currently on Medicare. And I want to be careful here and not throw out a number I can't fully back up, because that specific premium does change from year to year. So please, look up the current figure directly on Medicare.gov rather than trusting any single number from a video, mine included in that warning. Now stack the deductibles and coinsurance that QMB can also cover on top of that premium figure. And for someone dealing with regular doctor visits, routine lab tests, or an unexpected hospital stay, the total protection can genuinely run into the thousands of dollars over the course of a single year. Not a one-time savings, but a repeating one every year you qualify. This is the exact program I was hinting at in the very first 30 seconds of this video. the one that could realistically be worth more than everything else on this entire list combined. And the reason it flies so far under the radar is exactly what we just talked about a minute ago. It's run through your state Medicaid office working alongside Medicare. And there's no billboard for it, no mailer, nobody calling you personally to walk you through the paperwork. If you happen to be a veteran, there's a similar scale program worth knowing about too, called VA Aid and Attendance, which can help cover the cost of in-home care or assisted living for wartime veterans and their surviving spouses who genuinely need help with daily activities like bathing, dressing, or eating. I want to be clear that this one isn't for everyone watching. It's specifically built for those who need that level of hands-on care. But for the veterans who do qualify, it stands as one of the largest benefits the VA offers to anyone, veteran or spouse. Going back to QMB for a moment, because it applies to so many more of you watching than Aid and Attendance does, the application itself runs through your state Medicaid office rather than through Medicare directly, which honestly trips a lot of people up because they call Medicare first and get bounced around before anyone tells them where to actually apply. The fastest way to cut through that confusion is to search QMB application along with your state's name, or simply call your state Medicaid office and say the 3 letters QMB out loud, because that phrase alone tends to get you routed to the right department a lot faster than describing the benefit in your own words. Let's run through all 8 one more time, quick and clean, so you've got the complete list in one place before you go. 1. Check if you qualify for the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program, QMB, through your state Medicaid office. 2. Apply for extra help through Social Security to lower your Part D drug costs every month. 3. Ask your county assessor's office directly if there's a senior property tax exemption or valuation freeze available in your area. 4. Look into the Lifeline program for a discount on your monthly phone or internet bill. 5. If you're a veteran who needs help with daily care, look into VA Aid and Attendance through the VA. 6. Know that your standard deduction goes up once you turn 65, and confirm with a tax preparer whether your Social Security is even taxable given your specific situation. 7. Ask your local DMV directly about senior discounts on vehicle registration and license renewal fees. 8. If you love the outdoors, get the America the Beautiful Senior Pass for lifetime access to federal parks and recreation sites everywhere. 8 real, named, government-run programs, every one of them worth a phone call or a quick website visit, and none of them automatic, so the only way to claim them is to actually ask. If you've got a parent, a neighbor, or a friend who's over 65 and might be paying full price on any one of these 8 things without ever knowing better, do them a real favor right now and send them this video, because the couple of minutes it takes to share it could genuinely save them hundreds or even thousands of dollars this year alone. Drop a comment down below and let me know which one of these 8 surprised you the most. I read every single comment, and it genuinely helps me figure out what to cover next for all of you. Next week, I'm going deep on Medicare Savings Programs and walking through exactly how that application works step by step, start to finish, including the exact documents you'll want to have sitting in front of you before you make the call. So if that sounds useful to you, I'll see you there. And if you're watching this and you already went ahead and checked on one of these 8 programs for yourself this week, I'd genuinely love to hear how it went in the comments, good or bad, because real stories like Carol's are what make these videos worth making in the first place. Until then, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.